Hello, my ladies of inestimable value. Independence is not given, it is claimed and fiercely protected. Sigma females don't follow the rules of ordinary relationships. They rewrite them. While most people chase comfort and predictability in love, studies reveal that nearly 60% of highly independent women intentionally delay or avoid traditional partnerships to preserve their autonomy. These women move through life like shadows and storms, seen, felt, but never truly contained. They don't settle for the ordinary, and they certainly don't tolerate emotional inflation, unnecessary drama, or anyone who confuses clinginess for connection. If you think a Sigma female is just mysterious or hard to read, you're only scratching the surface. She is a master of her energy, her space, and her time, and every choice she makes in love is calculated with surgical precision, sometimes with a hint of ruthless humor at the absurdity of conventional romance. Prepare yourself. This isn't about why she's hard to love. This is about why she refuses to be tamed at all, and why understanding her is a privilege, not a right. Number 1, she rejects temporary comfort. Number 19 is about why Sigma females reject temporary comfort, and this is one of the most revealing aspects of their psyche. For a Sigma female, fleeting attention, shallow affection, or empty companionship holds no value. She sees through the veneer of temporary comfort instantly. She knows that being around someone just for a few good moments doesn't feed her mind, her ambition, or her sense of self. Relationships that exist solely to fill time or alleviate loneliness feel meaningless, even insulting, because she measures connection through impact, depth, and long-term resonance, not convenience or short-term pleasure. This isn't about being cold or unfeeling. It's about a refusal to waste energy on anything that won't matter tomorrow, next week, or next year. When a person offers her affection that comes and goes like a light switch, she recognizes the pattern and quietly steps away. She understands that temporary comfort is seductive, but it comes with hidden costs, softening her focus, draining her energy, and distracting her from what truly matters. In her world, every relationship, interaction, and investment of time must carry purpose. Anything less is a trap, a slow drain on the vitality she guards fiercely. She also knows the danger of settling for temporary comfort because it often disguises control and emotional manipulation. People who offer fleeting attention usually expect something in return: dependence, compromise, or a willingness to accept less than she deserves. A Sigma female won't fall for that. She doesn't mistake convenience for love or presence for commitment. She waits for connections that elevate her thinking, challenge her perspective, and resonate with her energy on a deep, almost uncanny level. Anything temporary cannot achieve that, no matter how comfortable or flattering it seems. Ultimately, rejecting temporary comfort is a form of self-respect and a strategy for growth. It's about refusing distractions that dilute her power and clarity. She wants bonds that matter, relationships that last in meaning if not always in time, and experiences that leave a mark on her life rather than just fill it. She doesn't chase short-term highs or emotional filler. She operates on depth, purpose, and longevity, and that is what makes her untouchable in a world built on instant gratification. Number 2, she values legacy over togetherness. Number 20 is about why Sigma females value legacy over togetherness, and it's one of the clearest signs of their unique mindset. For a Sigma female, life isn't measured by who she's with or how many relationships she accumulates. It's measured by the impact she leaves, the ideas she builds, and the influence she creates. While many people define success and fulfillment through companionship, marriage, or social approval, she defines it through contribution, growth, and leaving a mark that outlasts her presence. Relationships for her are secondary to the larger purpose she has carved for herself. She approaches life like an architect rather than a passenger. Every decision, every effort, and every hour is allocated toward building something meaningful. Being with someone for the sake of connection, comfort, or validation risks diluting her focus and energy. She has little patience for distractions that don't serve her long-term vision or align with her principles. The world offers countless ways to get lost in fleeting relationships, drama, and dependency, and she refuses to succumb. She recognizes that many people are satisfied with temporary happiness or easy emotional access, but she isn't one of them. She wants permanence, not just in experience but in impact, and that drives her choices. Legacy for a Sigma female can take many forms: knowledge, influence, wealth, art, or ideas. It's about creating a life that matters beyond her own lifespan, and that requires independence, focus, and sometimes solitude. Romantic involvement is weighed against this higher calling. If it doesn't amplify her growth, challenge her mind, or support her purpose, it's irrelevant. She doesn't see love as an ultimate goal, but as a potential addition to a life already rich in meaning. This perspective makes her almost untouchable emotionally. She's not rejecting love or intimacy out of fear, but out of strategy and clarity. Relationships that demand her attention without contributing to her lasting impact are simply not worth her time. She chooses permanence over convenience, depth over companionship, and legacy over temporary connection. In a world that constantly equates togetherness with success, her refusal to follow that path is both her power and her defining edge. Number 3. She rejects ownership in love. Sigma females reject ownership in love because they understand that true connection can never be forced, controlled, or boxed in. To her, possessiveness is not a sign of devotion. It's a form of weakness, insecurity, and disrespect. She does not view relationships as something to claim or dominate. She sees them as dynamic interactions between two independent minds and hearts. Any attempt to treat her as an object to be held, monitored, or controlled is instantly repelling. Ownership in love, in her eyes, is a slow poison. It erodes freedom, creativity, and authenticity, the very qualities she prizes above all else. She approaches relationships with a radical sense of personal sovereignty. Just as she refuses to hand over her time, energy, or purpose to anyone else, she will not allow herself to be possessed emotionally. She recognizes that when one partner treats the other like property, it creates imbalance, resentment, and dependence, elements she actively avoids. For her, love is not a transaction. It is a meeting of equals, a shared energy that flows freely rather than being confined to rules, jealousy, or control. This perspective makes her extraordinarily selective, because very few people can respect that level of autonomy without interpreting it as disinterest or arrogance. Her refusal of ownership also stems from clarity about human behavior. She knows that possessiveness rarely comes from love. It usually comes from fear, the fear of loss, fear of inadequacy, fear of being alone. Sigma females confront these fears within themselves instead of projecting them onto partners. She wants a connection based on choice, not coercion. When someone attempts to dominate her emotionally, she disengages without drama, not because she doesn't care, but because she values freedom more than conditional affection. Ultimately, this rejection of ownership in love reinforces her independence and integrity. It ensures that every bond she forms is grounded in mutual respect and authentic desire rather than control. Her relationships, when they do exist, thrive because they are built on equality, trust, and the freedom to be fully oneself. Anything less is irrelevant, and she has no patience for attempts to possess or cage her heart. She moves through love with precision, not neediness, and this makes her not just untouchable, but profoundly magnetic to those who understand the power of true, unclaimed connection. Number 4. She avoids cultural traps in love. Sigma females avoid cultural traps in love because they see the unspoken pressures and illusions that society places on relationships. From a young age, the world broadcasts a narrative. Being in a relationship equals success, worth, and social acceptance. Holidays, media, family gatherings, even casual conversations are saturated with the idea that companionship is a measure of personal value. For most people, this creates a subtle but constant pressure to conform, to settle, or to chase validation through romantic attachment. Sigma females, however, see through the facade immediately. They recognize it as a manipulative system designed to herd people into predictable patterns that benefit society's norms, not their individuality or growth. She refuses to participate because she knows that following these cultural scripts comes at a cost. Relationships built under societal pressure are rarely authentic. They demand compromises that dilute personal vision, conformity that stifles uniqueness, and sacrifices that often go unnoticed. Sigma females are intensely aware of this, and they guard their autonomy fiercely. To her, choosing a partner for validation or social approval is not love, it's surrender. She understands that society profits from people who measure self-worth through companionship, and she refuses to let her life be dictated by external applause or the tick of a socially accepted checklist. This rejection is not born of cynicism but of strategic clarity. Sigma females operate on principles of independence, purpose, and self-mastery. She prioritizes personal evolution and lasting impact over temporary approval. While the world celebrates coupling as a milestone, she measures herself against her own standards: creativity, influence, knowledge, and freedom. Relationships are only valuable to her if they align with these principles, not if they simply signal conformity or satisfy cultural expectations. By avoiding these cultural traps, she remains untethered, self-directed, and far ahead of her peers in terms of self-awareness and intentional living. Society may label her as difficult, cold, or independent to a fault, but these labels are irrelevant. She knows that living authentically and resisting manipulation is far more powerful than seeking validation through a socially sanctioned relationship. In a world obsessed with appearances and cultural norms, she moves with clarity, precision, and an unshakable commitment to her own path. Number 5. She measures compatibility through impact, not affection. Sigma females measure compatibility through impact, not affection, because they understand that feelings alone are fleeting, but influence shapes a life. For her, love is not a warm comfort or a collection of compliments, it is a catalyst. Every person she allows close must have the ability to elevate her, challenge her thinking, or push her to see the world differently. A partner who merely provides affection without substance, insight, or growth is irrelevant. She refuses to waste time on emotional sugarcoating or relationships that don't expand her perspective, sharpen her mind, or align with her long-term purpose. This approach comes from a profound understanding of human nature. Sigma females see that most people fall into patterns of emotional laziness. They offer love in familiar doses, repeating gestures that feel safe but ultimately stagnate both parties. Sigma females reject that predictability. She knows that meaningful connections are forged through challenge, dialogue, and mutual transformation, not routine displays of tenderness or fleeting attraction. A partner who cannot contribute to this evolution, who does not stimulate her intellect or provoke reflection, is functionally invisible in her life. She also understands the cost of settling for affection without impact. Relationships built solely on comfort can numb ambition, distract from growth, and create dependency. Sigma females are keenly aware that every moment of their life is valuable, and they cannot afford to invest emotionally in someone who does not contribute to the richness of their journey. To her, compatibility is measured by the weight of influence a person has on her life trajectory, not by how many warm words or physical gestures they offer. This is why Sigma females appear selective, intense, or even intimidating to others. They are not uninterested in connection. They are deeply committed to meaningful interaction. A partner must not only respect her independence, but actively enhance it. Every conversation, challenge, or exchange must add layers to her understanding of the world or deepen her sense of purpose. Affection is secondary. Impact is primary. In essence, Sigma females don't just want someone to love, they want someone who transforms, stretches, and amplifies the person they already are. Anything less is irrelevant, and she has the clarity and courage to walk away without regret. Love, for her, is a tool of evolution, not a crutch of comfort. Number 6. She treats connection like chemistry, not comfort. Sigma females treat connection like chemistry, not comfort, because they understand that emotional bonds are only valuable when they spark energy, insight, and growth. For her, a relationship is not a place to seek routine reassurance or predictable companionship. It is a dynamic exchange that excites the mind and challenges the soul. She doesn't settle for comfort that comes from habit, familiarity, or convenience. Empty routines, shallow gestures, or predictable emotional patterns hold no interest. To her, These are distractions, not relationships. She measures connection through resonance, intellectual, emotional, and energetic. She wants someone who can engage her thoughts, push her ideas, and match her intensity. A partner who merely offers warmth, security, or predictability is irrelevant. Sigma females recognize that comfort in a relationship often masks stagnation. It can lull a person into complacency, dull ambition, and make life feel smaller than it should. For a Sigma female, every interaction must have purpose. Every bond must ignite curiosity, passion, or insight. Anything less is not worth her attention. This perspective is not about being unfeeling or dismissive of emotion. It is about prioritizing depth and authenticity. She doesn't mistake the ease of companionship for genuine connection. True chemistry, in her view, is rare because it cannot be manufactured. It requires alignment of energy, intellect, and vision. Relationships formed for convenience, social approval, or comfort are shallow experiments in comparison. Sigma females intuitively detect when interactions lack this spark, and she avoids them without hesitation. She also understands the long-term consequences of settling for comfort over chemistry. Routine bonds can erode individuality, limit growth, and create dependencies that feel safe but are ultimately hollow. Sigma females refuse to compromise the integrity of their evolution for temporary ease or emotional security. Ultimately, a Sigma female's approach to connection is radical. She seeks intensity, resonance, and authenticity over predictability. She thrives in bonds that challenge her, excite her, and elevate her energy. Comfort alone cannot hold her attention. It cannot fuel her mind or inspire her purpose. For her, relationships are not about filling gaps or soothing insecurities. They are about chemistry that transforms, expands, and endures. Anything less is irrelevant. Number 7. She analyzes freedom as a non-negotiable asset. Sigma females analyze freedom as a non-negotiable asset because independence isn't just a preference, it's the foundation of who they are. For her, personal autonomy is sacred, and any bond that threatens it, no matter how emotionally appealing, is automatically met with resistance. She doesn't approach relationships with the intention of blending completely or surrendering choice. Instead, she evaluates whether a connection complements her freedom, enhances her life, or threatens the boundaries she has fought to maintain. She understands that most people unconsciously expect compromise in relationships, often asking partners to adjust routines, priorities, or decisions to fit a shared path. While compromise can work for many, Sigma females approach it with scrutiny. She knows that even small erosions of her autonomy accumulate over time, subtly diminishing her energy, focus, and sense of self. Any partner who demands too much control over her schedule, decisions, or personal space is immediately filtered out. She doesn't tolerate emotional manipulation disguised as concern, nor does she entertain guilt as a lever to limit her independence. Freedom, for her, is tied directly to growth and self-mastery. The ability to act without constraint allows her to pursue ambitions, explore ideas, and cultivate the life she desires without external interference. Relationships that impose rules, expectations, or unnecessary limitations are incompatible with this vision. She values mutual respect over dependency, understanding that love doesn't require surrender but thrives alongside independence. This perspective makes her appear intense or even unapproachable to those who equate closeness with control. Sigma females aren't rejecting intimacy. They are defending the space that enables them to be fully themselves. A partner who honors her freedom is rare and precious because most people unconsciously attempt to tether love to ownership or influence. Ultimately, analyzing freedom as a non-negotiable asset ensures she never compromises the core of her existence for anyone. She approaches relationships with clarity, not fear, and will walk away from anything that threatens her autonomy. Her ability to protect her independence without sacrificing connection makes her extraordinary. She loves deeply but on her terms, and only with those who can respect the sanctity of her freedom. Number 8. She sees emotional dependence as a liability. Sigma females see emotional dependence as a liability because they understand that relying on someone else for validation, comfort, or stability diminishes autonomy and clouds judgment. To her, love is not about needing someone to fill gaps in emotion or identity. It is about sharing life with someone who complements, challenges, and elevates her without imposing restrictions. Dependency, in her eyes, is a subtle form of surrender that risks diluting her independence, mental clarity, and ability to make decisions unencumbered. She recognizes patterns in relationships where one person becomes emotionally reliant on the other. What often appears as intimacy or closeness to outsiders is, to her, a trap that leads to compromise, distraction, and stagnation. Sigma females are highly self-aware. They know that when they absorb someone else's insecurities, anxieties, or emotional volatility, it isn't love. They are merely carrying someone else's burden, often at the expense of their own growth. For this reason, she consciously avoids entanglements that encourage dependence or foster codependency. This perspective does not make her cold or distant. It makes her strategic and discerning. She values emotional equilibrium, both for herself and anyone she allows into her life. A healthy connection in her eyes is one where both parties are strong, self-sufficient, and capable of navigating life without leaning excessively on the other. When a partner cannot maintain this balance, the relationship becomes a net drain rather than a source of energy, inspiration, or mutual evolution. Sigma females cannot afford that risk. By refusing to engage in emotionally dependent dynamics, she maintains her focus on growth, mastery, and purpose. She understands that true intimacy is not about merging into someone else's needs, but about sharing life as complete, independent individuals. Emotional dependence, no matter how disguised as love, threatens this equilibrium. Ultimately, her avoidance of dependency is a statement of strength, self-respect, and foresight. She invests in connections that enrich her life without compromising her autonomy. Weakness disguised as neediness is invisible to her, and she walks away from it without hesitation. For Sigma females, relationships are not crutches, they are partnerships between equals, built on strength, clarity, and shared evolution. Anything less is irrelevant. Number 9. She calculates energy drain with surgical precision. Sigma females calculate energy drain with surgical precision because they understand that their time, attention, and emotional bandwidth are finite, and every interaction carries a cost. She unconsciously tracks the emotional ROI of relationships, measuring how much a person adds to her life versus how much they subtract. This isn't about selfishness, it's about survival, clarity, and maximizing impact. She knows that investing energy in people who deplete her focus, creativity, or peace of mind is a luxury she cannot afford. From subtle body language to tone, attitude, and consistency, she reads people quickly, gauging whether interactions uplift or drain her. A partner who complains constantly, seeks endless reassurance, or imposes unbalanced emotional demands will be filtered out almost instantly. Sigma females have a mental barometer for energy exchange. If someone takes more than they give, or if their presence leaves her feeling exhausted rather than inspired, she disengages without guilt. She doesn't wait for problems to escalate. She recognizes the pattern early and makes decisions decisively. This calculation extends beyond romantic partners. Friends, colleagues, and even family are measured against the same invisible scale. While most people tolerate emotional drain for social convenience or habit, she refuses. Her inner ecosystem is delicate but powerful, and she protects it fiercely. Energy isn't just about mood, it fuels creativity, ambition, and clarity. Sigma females know that wasted energy translates to lost opportunities, diminished focus, and slower progress toward personal mastery. Her precision in evaluating energy also reflects her broader approach to life. She doesn't see relationships as obligations, she sees them as exchanges. Every bond must contribute positively to her trajectory, mentally, emotionally, or strategically. Interactions that feel heavy, manipulative, or draining are irrelevant, no matter how socially or romantically appealing they appear to others. Ultimately, this surgical approach to energy ensures she maintains autonomy, focus, and momentum in every aspect of her life. Sigma females do not settle for connections that sap their strength. Instead, they curate a world where every interaction fuels growth, inspires clarity, and elevates the person they are becoming. Anything that drains more than it energizes is automatically discarded, making her fiercely self-sufficient, highly selective, and extraordinarily magnetic. Number 10. She operates on unseen timelines. Sigma females operate on unseen timelines because they reject society's arbitrary schedules and expectations. While most people measure life by milestones dictated by culture, marriage by 30, kids by 32, career peaks by 40, she measures life by personal evolution, growth, and mastery. The conventional pressures to conform are irrelevant to her. She moves on her own clock, guided by her priorities, ambitions, and inner compass, rather than external timelines or approval. Her approach to time is strategic and deeply personal. She doesn't rush into relationships, careers, or commitments simply because others have done so, or because society says it's the right moment. Every decision she makes is weighed against her long-term vision and her desire to evolve as an individual. To a Sigma female, following someone else's timeline is a form of surrender, a way of allowing external expectations to dictate the pace of her life. She refuses to hand over that control. Operating on unseen timelines also means she isn't concerned with keeping up appearances. Engagements, marriages, or relationships that others treat as badges of social proof hold little meaning to her. What matters is alignment with her own rhythm, energy, and trajectory. If she chooses to pursue a relationship, it's because it fits seamlessly with her growth, and not because a calendar or societal whisper tells her it's time. This perspective gives her an almost untouchable level of focus and independence. While peers may feel anxious about deadlines, milestones, or comparisons, she remains steady, grounded in her own path. She understands that life is not a race to meet arbitrary checkpoints. It is a journey of self-mastery and impact. By ignoring conventional timelines, she frees herself from pressure, distraction, and unnecessary compromise. Ultimately, Sigma females operate on unseen timelines because they value authenticity, purpose, and personal evolution above all else. Relationships, careers, and life decisions are secondary to the unfolding of her own unique path. She moves deliberately, intentionally, and with clarity, unaffected by the ticking clock of society. This allows her to craft a life that is not only extraordinary but entirely hers, untouched by the noise of external expectation. Number 11. She rejects performative intimacy. Sigma females reject performative intimacy because they recognize it for what it is, a show for others rather than a genuine connection. Socially scripted romance, the flowers, the staged compliments, the routine gestures designed to signal affection, bores her. She doesn't need demonstrations that are meant to impress, conform, or adhere to cultural expectations. For her, love is not a performance. It is a lived experience, defined by authenticity, resonance, and shared depth. Anything that feels rehearsed, forced, or superficial is immediately dismissed. She has an acute sensitivity to energy and intention. A partner who engages in gestures for validation, recognition, or social applause is invisible to her. Sigma females see through the pretense because she values substance over spectacle. A relationship should challenge her, provoke thought, or create real emotional intimacy, not simply check off social boxes. She understands that rituals meant to satisfy norms often prioritize appearances over truth, and she refuses to participate in arrangements that compromise her integrity. This rejection extends beyond romance into every form of interaction. Sigma females are uncomfortable with performative emotions or artificial displays of attachment. To her, gestures must emerge naturally from genuine care, respect, and shared energy. When actions are calculated to manipulate, impress, or appease, she perceives them as drains on authenticity and clarity. Engaging with such behaviors would dilute her standards and her sense of self, something she cannot and will not allow. Her insistence on authenticity also creates a high threshold for connection. While many people are content with routine displays of affection or symbolic gestures, she demands depth. The intimacy she values is raw, real, and unfiltered. It is about the quiet understanding, mutual respect, and shared resonance that cannot be replicated by external performance. Ultimately, by rejecting performative intimacy, Sigma females preserve the integrity of their connections and protect their emotional autonomy. She doesn't settle for appearances, convenience, or validation disguised as love. Her relationships thrive only when they are genuine, spontaneous, and transformative. Anything less is irrelevant, and she walks away without hesitation. For her, authenticity is not optional. It is the foundation of every meaningful bond. Number 12. She prefers self-sovereignty over compromise. Sigma females prefer self-sovereignty over compromise because they understand that their identity, independence, and personal growth are not negotiable. In most relationships, compromise is framed as an act of love, a necessary sacrifice to maintain harmony or connection. For many, it seems noble or romantic. For a Sigma female, however, compromise often comes at too high a cost. She has learned that ordinary attachments can demand the surrender of autonomy, the bending of principles, and the slowing of personal evolution, all things she refuses to allow. She approaches relationships with clarity and intentionality. Every choice, interaction, and shared decision is weighed against the preservation of her freedom and the advancement of her purpose. Sigma females understand that compromise can quietly erode individuality, often disguised as cooperation or care. They refuse to enter arrangements that require them to diminish themselves for the comfort or approval of another. Sacrificing vision or autonomy for someone else's expectations is unacceptable, and she recognizes that ordinary attachments frequently demand exactly that. This preference doesn't make her inflexible or unfeeling. On the contrary, she is capable of extraordinary empathy, care, and intimacy, but only within the boundaries that respect her sovereignty. She understands that healthy relationships are partnerships between equals, where each person's individuality is honored rather than sacrificed. When compromise threatens to disrupt her equilibrium or dilute her independence, she instinctively resists. Sigma females also recognize the subtle ways compromise can accumulate over time. Small concessions, once tolerated, can compound into a life that feels constrained and diminished. She refuses to be trapped in that pattern. Her loyalty is reserved for bonds that enhance her growth rather than restrict it, that challenge her rather than chain her. Ultimately, her preference for self-sovereignty over compromise ensures that every relationship she engages in is intentional, empowering, and authentic. Ordinary attachments, no matter how appealing socially or emotionally, are often incompatible with this mindset. She chooses freedom, clarity, and alignment with her principles above all else. In a world that glorifies compromise as a measure of love, Sigma females redefine it. They love fully, but never at the expense of the self. Sigma females are not defined by convention, approval, or the expectations of society. Every choice they make, every boundary they set, and every relationship they engage in is guided by a profound understanding of self, energy, and purpose. They move through life on their own terms, valuing autonomy over attachment, authenticity over performance, and legacy over temporary comfort. Where others see compromise, they see erosion. Where others see routine, they see stagnation. And where others chase validation, they forge mastery. Relationships for a Sigma female are not about filling gaps or soothing insecurities. They are measured by impact, resonance, and alignment with her vision. She avoids emotional liabilities, refuses cultural traps, and rejects possessiveness, performative intimacy, and dependency, because she knows that her energy, clarity, and freedom are assets that cannot be squandered. Every connection she allows into her life must elevate, challenge, or amplify the person she already is. Anything less is irrelevant, and she walks away without hesitation. This mindset may seem intimidating, even isolating to the outside world, but it is precisely what makes Sigma females extraordinary. Their independence is not rebellion, it is mastery. Their selectivity is not arrogance, it is precision. And their refusal to conform is not coldness, it is clarity. They understand that life is not about following timelines, meeting expectations, or settling for comfort. It is about evolution, power, and leaving a legacy that endures. To truly understand a Sigma female is to respect her boundaries, honor her autonomy, and recognize that love, when it exists in her life, is not possession. It is partnership, resonance, and mutual growth. She is rare, magnetic, and untouchable precisely because she demands depth, authenticity, and alignment above all else. Sigma females do not chase. They select. They do not compromise. They preserve. They do not perform. They evolve. And in a world content with superficiality and fleeting comfort, they are extraordinary, unshakable, and unforgettable. If you found these insights into Sigma females as fascinating as we do, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that subscribe button and join our community for more deep dives into the minds of extraordinary individuals. Smash the like button if this resonated with you, and comment below with your thoughts or experiences. Let's start a conversation. And don't forget to share this with anyone who needs to understand the power, independence, and untouchable energy of a Sigma female. Your support helps us create more content that challenges the ordinary and celebrates the extraordinary.